Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach North channel. In this video we're going to do our round 6 preview for NRL SuperCoach in the 2024 season. So before we get stuck into my team, as usual we'll go through the most popular trades and captaincy options, and as you can see from the trades, there is one guy we're all getting in, and that is James Schiller. So 41,000 traded in this week. Absolute no-brainer, near bottom dollar, playing the Titans this week, has a negative 100 something break even. All the things we want in a cheapy centre wing. So, yeah, whatever you got to do, get on and get Schiller in your team. Joey Manu at number 2. And I guess, obviously, if you're downgrading to get Schiller, you might have some money to upgrade. And I think Joey Manu is a fine option. We'll play fullback this week, and we know he always scores well when he fills in and plays fullback. And I guess if we get him in now, we can sort of keep him all the way up until Origin, where again he'll play a bit of fullback and fill in there. So, yeah, I do like the Joe Manu trade. If you want to bring him in, you're more than welcome to. Kalen Ponga, so obviously a straight swap for Tedesco or Teddy. Latrell or Tedesco. I was going with Trell, and I went Tedesco twice, essentially. Yeah, I talked about in the tops, chops, traps, and slaps the other day that any replacement is fine. Ponga, Turbo, Drinkwater, those premium options. It's really just your personal preference. And yeah, if you want to get on Ponga, feel free. Yeah, can't begrudge that pick. Angus Crichton at number 4, and so I did talk about in the video yesterday that I think he might be a bit of a trap, just because Nat Butcher's back in on the other edge. They've got Tupanua on the bench, so I'd suggest out of those two, it's probably Crichton that's more likely to get spelled with Tupanua coming on. So I don't think he'll play 80 minutes. Excuse me. And I think uh, that his upside is somewhat limited. So yeah, I think if you're going a second row, I'd rather reach up for a premium option rather than another sort of mid-price option. We've probably had enough of those in our team for now. Kale Iro at number 5. So I can understand people wanting to go early on the pick, and I'll talk about that a little bit more once we get into my team specifically. But you can wait a week. His price isn't going to go anywhere. But he could fill up against the Rabbitohs. So obviously, if you wanted to do a double downgrade and then potentially boost up somewhere else this week, I don't mind it. But I think it's probably better to wait a week if you can. Eli Katoa. So I guess obviously coming off the big game, he doesn't offer as much value. In saying that, his price hasn't really moved much. So it's not like you're paying up massively for him based on what he's worth. So yeah, I think if you are looking for a premium option, you could go with Eli Katoa. Sean Johnson at number 7. So he's on the way up. 30k last week. He'll probably go up again in value this week. So if you are looking for a halfback, get on Sean Johnson. I wouldn't trade him for Cleary because Cleary's back next week. Unless you are set on having Johnson right through till post-Origin. Tamara Martin at number 8. So maybe another one where we can wait a week. I can imagine a few people maybe getting out of a Dylan Brown type pick to bring him in. But just give him a second look. I mean, if you can put Ethan Strange in the 5'8" spot for a week, and then if you want to bring Tamara Martin in, you just move Strange back into the centre wing spot. I think that's probably a more sensible pick than going early on this one. Scott Drinkwater and Tommy Trbojevic. So, I talked about them in line with Kalen Ponga. So, yeah, if you want to bring them in over Ponga, absolutely feel free. Obviously, if you've got Latrell and Tedesco, it's hard to say for some reason. Yeah, any two of those three would be a pretty handy sort of option to bring in for them. But on the trade out list, the chopping block, so James Tedesco at number 1. So I think, fullback is a position where you can spend a few trades chopping and changing your fullback. Obviously, if you've got both Latrell and Tedesco, Latrell is the priority because he's out for 3 weeks. I can understand people wanting to get out of Tedesco because he's going to lose value, but I'd imagine his value would recover close to about where he's at in time for Origin. So, not an urgent trade out, but I definitely understand the logic. Dom Young, so I guess for all those people who got on early doors because he had a massive score and the break even was good, you can see that he's only up 2.6k on the season, and I did sort of suggest that in previous weeks. So I think if you've got him, you get out. He is going to leak a lot of money when he comes back, and with so many good cheapy options at the moment, I think perfect opportunity to cash in and upgrade in other positions. Taylor May's another one that I would suggest holding. I know he's leaked a bit of money and hasn't produced, but you can see the abilities there. He just needs to get a bit of luck, as in getting the ball on his side of the field. They've very much gone down the right hand side, Penrith this year, through Tungo and Toto, but it will change, and May will get his game where he goes up in value. I think you've just got to keep the faith in. If you can get someone at that price playing at Penrith, you'd jump up and down and say yes every day of the week. So I don't know why you would get off just because he's had a bit of a lean run to start. Latrell, I think, yep, get out of the pick. Obviously, a bit less of value, but he's not playing for 3 weeks. So, you can't have that much money sitting in a fullback spot on your bench for 3 weeks. Blaze Talangi, so I guess obviously back out of the team, he has made 70k. I think if you've got a different centre winger that has made a bit more money, um, you could trade out and just hope that maybe Talangi finds his way back into the centres or something. But Para's probably not the hottest side at the moment, so I do get it. But I think it's a bit of a busted trade. If you go off early, you may regret it. Zach Laybut, yep, out for the season with ACL. You can comfortably remove him. Take to a picky if you've still got him. Obviously, there's some great downgrade options this week, so great time to get out of that. Ruben Garrick is another one that we should hold. He only should be out for 1 week with the HIA, available round 7. Goal kicking centre wings, we like them in SuperCoach. So, particularly one with Garrick's sort of work ethic. So, yeah, he's one I wish I had in my team, but you can't have everyone. But hopefully by the end of the season he does feature. So I would hold if you've got Ruben Garrick. Dylan Brown, so an interesting one. He has lost a lot of money, but you know, Para, as we said with Talangi, Para aren't in that good of a form. Um, yeah, it's probably one I'm probably going to trade out myself this week, so I couldn't talk anyone out of it. But I guess the old classic is you never trade a keeper. So as my phone's not working, I'll just plug that back in. Yeah, but I think in this case, he's not playing like a keeper at the moment. So you've lost a bit of cash, but you may just want to cut your losses and pivot to other positions. And Drew Hutchinson, I think it is time for him to go. He has made only 70k, but I guess it was just at the start of the season he was one of those cheaper options that was playing. Now we've got some cheapies that are going to make a bit more money in a quicker fashion. So I think, and also I guess with their halfback crisis, he's been pretty handy if you've had him in your halfback slot. But I think it is time to move on from Drew Hutch. In terms of the captain options this week, it's probably a bit too early still, but we'll go the top 10% because I guess these guys are somewhat serious about playing. It's not to say people in the top 10% don't know what they're talking about, but we definitely will have a few more ghost teams in that bottom 90%. So if we have a look at the most popular captaincy options, so Val Holmes, at number one. I guess if you have him, he's owned by 46% of the top 10,000. So this might actually skew the results, I just realised. So let's go all coaches and we'll have a look at the difference. Yeah, so I think this is probably more accurate. Nico Hines at 12%. So he's owned by 29% of the group. So 43,000. So 11% of that's about 4,000. So he probably is the most popular captain. Against South, who have the worst defence, and I guess particularly on their South's left edge of defence, which is the Sharks' right hand side of attack, which is where Hines usually operates more often. Um, so I think he is the prime option this week for our captaincy. Kalen Ponga, so I guess if you've got him in, makes sense to put the captaincy on him. They do play relatively early, so as you can see, a pretty popular VC option as well. So Ponga into Hines, I think, is pretty good. So Val Holmes, so 8.3% of all coaches have gone with Val Holmes. Against a somewhat out of sorts Parramatta team, he could fill up. So absolutely makes sense if you wanted to start with Val Holmes as your captain. Ryan Pappenhausen against the Dogs. So again, probably more of a VC shout, given he plays in the second game of the round. Um, I'm trying to think who plays on Thursday now. I can't remember. Is it Newcastle? I think it's Newcastle Roosters playing on the first game on Thursday. So I guess I was going to say if you've got Callan Ponga into Pappenhausen, makes sense, but you can't have both in your VC and C discussions. So I think either one of these guys is VC into a Hines, but obviously if you don't have Hines, well then like 70% of people don't have Hines, then you could go straight C early doors. Scott Drinkwater, so I guess in line with these other sort of picks, and I guess it's interesting to see how the meta has changed. Just looking, we've got the Hammers still in the conversation, Tom Travojevic. So you know traditionally you wouldn't have seen six of the top seven picks being the outside backs for captain. Nathan Cleary. There's obviously quite a few people still not involved with it that have just locked him in. Sean Johnson, is a great call. And James Tedesco, again, a few people probably like myself haven't done their trades yet for this round. Appy Coruscant at number 9, the first forward. Number 11, the first forward. He plays in the 9. Where's it? So Adam Fanua-Blake, the most popular forward captaincy option, which I guess, is the traditional safe option. So just really interesting to see how much the game has shifted over the years. A little bit of commentary there. VCs, so these guys all featured pretty prominently. Harry Grant we didn't talk about before, but playing early against the Dogs. Bulldogs, struggling for middle forwards, so it could work out. Joey Manu, obviously, if you bring him in, makes sense to sneaky VC on Thursday night. Other than that, everyone we've sort of discussed down to Luke Brooks in number 12. I mean, probably really wild against New Zealand over in New Zealand, but fortune favours the brave, as we're about to find out, hopefully. So, in terms of our team this week, so we'll do the no-brainer trade first. Drew Hutchinson, thanks for your service, mate, but we need to join the party. If I can work out break even, there we are. Get in James Schiller. So we'll lock that one in. Gives us 213,000 to work with, which I guess makes it pretty interesting. We probably want to take that money and upgrade. So I guess initially what my thought was around, trying to get the fullback position sorted. And as I said, I could go with Scott Drinkwater, and that would work. And we could lock that in. But I guess then also a couple of people were saying, well, what about like a Joey Manu? And so just looking through my team, it's like, well, could we get Joey Manu in? And I mean, what we could do is we would have to boost to do this with fullback trade. But we'll go Dylan Brown out. bring Ethan Strange into our 5'8" slots, and then Joseph Manu. And, we've still got a bit of cash in the bank. So that still gives us the Roosters fullback, but then also, two guns in the fullback slots. But unfortunately, it does use our third boost. So the problem with that, if I just cancel those two trades, is if we think ahead a little bit to our sort of trades for next week, um, we've got a few options that we're seriously looking at. So Kale Iro, Tamara Martin, we talked about they were popular this week. Want to give them another look before we sort of have to commit to bringing them in. So, they're probably two trades that we want to lock in. And I guess, if we look at our team as it stands, we could probably do Bostock, Talangi out. Oh, sorry, Dylan Brown out for Tamare, Bostock for Oro. But then, I have been big on getting Taylor May in as well. So, we could probably do that through Talangi. So I guess the issue, if I just go back and we do the Joey Manu trade, so Ethan Strange in, Manu in, so if we were to set up with something like this, and then we wanted to bring in these three next week, Bostock, Talangi, okay, cool, but then who do we trade out for Tamaro Martin? It's like these guys are all sort of, keeper options. There's an argument maybe the Hammer could exit, because with the Dolphins having those three games over the Origin period, so around 13, 16, 19, and you imagine he won't miss any of them. Or sorry, he'll miss all of them because he'll be playing Origin. He actually won't play that many games through the Origin period. So, it is one we have to get out of before then. But I guess if we were to say, downgrade him to Tamara Martin and bring Strange in, we'll probably be parking a few $100,000 on the pine that week, and it's not something we really want to do. So, ideally, I want to hang on to these guys a little bit longer. So the question is, how do we get to a position where we can sort of comfortably trade out, three centre wingers, for lack of a better term, um, to bring in these three next week potentially. And so I guess the answer to that is we're going to look elsewhere with the upgrade from um, Dylan Brown. So we've already sort of slotted Strange in. I guess just if we go through the 5'8s, go by averages, Tamara Martin crushing it, one game, doesn't really matter. After that, we've got Matt Burton averaging a 63. It's like, I do love my Matt Burton, but that is elevated by 147. So we sort of take that out, and it's a bit, lower. And then you can even see like Luke Brooks, Tom Dearden, they're averaging the same as Dylan Brown anyway. So that's the dictionary definition of sideways. So we're probably not going to look in the center 5'8". And as I said, we don't really want to trade in a centre wing to not free up that or clog up that spot, I suppose. But where we can look is we've got ourselves Ben Trbojevic in the second row, so we can slide him forward. And so at this price, if we go by highest price, we can bring in anyone we want. And I was seriously tempted by bringing in David Fafita. So he is, if you look at it on paper, if I just go back, his break even is 112, which isn't ideal. Obviously, the Titans aren't the informed team in the competition. But things like he's in 1% of teams. This is like the dictionary definition of a super pod. Um, and he's scored well. Essentially a point per minute, so we can hopefully bank close to 80 points a week, which is pretty handy in the second row. But I thought, well, if I can be a bit patient, he might dip just below 800,000, and he might be one I might be able to swap that Hammer money with. But then when I thought about that, I thought, well, we're trading out the hammer because he's playing for Queensland. What do you think David Fifita's doing during that Origin period? So, looking elsewhere, um, caught another super pod, Britain Nicola. So I was an early adopter of him last year too, and was very happy. And as I talked about with Nico Hines, the worst defence in the league at the moment is South Sydney's left edge. So who's the right hand second rower that'll be running at that edge this weekend? None other than Britain Nikora. So I am somewhat doubling down on this, and this is why as well. Those who want to bring in Eero this week a week early, it absolutely makes sense because who's playing outside Nicola on the right centre? I'm pretty sure it's Eero. It might be Ramian actually. I don't know. But from what I saw, I thought Eero played right edge, but I might have myself confused. But I definitely know that Nicola is covering that edge. So go on the super pod move. It might be a little bit early for that, but obviously he'll cover through the Origin period. So if we look at their draw coming up, he plays round 13, which is good, and round 19, which is handy. So only 16 where he misses out. And being from New Zealand, he has no chance of playing Origin. So this also then allows us next week with these three moves. It'll basically be these three out for these three, provided obviously Eero, Munn do the job, look really good, get locked in for that third game next week. And, Ethan Strange will just come into the centre wing here. So, and then the week after, we've got Chevy Stewart. So that might be the time where we get out of the hammer. And then, we can maybe upgrade with that sort of money, hammer down to Stewart. We could upgrade Joey Chan to David Fifita then. So I might even put Fafita on my watch list just to keep that goal in the back of my head. Cool. So those are the trades in terms of setup this week. So I'm going to go Hines as captain, with the majority, and we'll go for the upside of Pappenhausen as VC. Talani and Tedesco no good on our bench. So Nikora, because I think the Sharks do play fairly late in the round. Yeah, so the Bulldogs and the Knights play in the first two games. So these three on the field, those two on the bench makes sense. Harry Grant plays early, so Lussick on the bench is okay. So now we just need to work out our fourth reserve out of Hughes, Bostock, Ben Trebojevic. So I guess Sam Hughes playing against Melbourne. We're not expecting him to score another try. But there was a bit of a rumour, and I haven't confirmed this. Again, I'm recording this Wednesday night. It will be out Thursday morning, so watching this, you might know more. But a bit of a rumour that Max King's going to miss, which is obviously massive for the Bulldogs. And even then, you'd imagine maybe that Farmasili will start, but I think Sam Hughes will come on and play a lot of minutes through the middle, sort of similar to what he did last week. Just because they're running out of middle forwards. So there's that. You've got Bostock against the Broncos. Yeah, so probably not the best matchup. And then Ben Trebojevic, who's been shuffled out into the centres against the Warriors. So, not a lot of opportunity for attack in these options. So it is a bit of a tricky one. It's not worth wasting a boost on to try and bring in an Eero or something that we would be happier to play. But leaning towards Hughes, just that sort of solid base. Hopefully he doesn't drop the ball too much, that sort of thing. But yeah, we're just banking on him getting some minutes in the middle. Yeah, well, but then again, play for upside. I mean, Bostock's only got to get on the edge of something and he gets, 20 points for a try, 27 points if you count the line break. Yeah, let's go with that. So Smithies, get back in there. So we'll go with Bostock. Hopefully he gets a bit of meat. If we have a look at his stats from last week. So I don't know if he got a try, did he? No, he got a try assist. So, and sort of has produced something every game so far, which is very positive. But I think without that, I don't know. Yeah, line breaks as well. So obviously a low base because he's a winger. But I guess he has made a few contributions with running it out from the back. All right, we'll back in Bostock to do the business. All right, so I guess that's how it sits. I'll just quickly go through the draft as well. That's the wrong week. So I think I've already set this up. So basically, we're running out of players on our bench. So I got on Martin, which works out nice. Picked up Schiller for Labour off the free agency, I think it was this morning. I was about 5 minutes too late to get Chevy Stewart, which I was a bit filthy on. He would have been the preferred option. But we'll take Schiller with an average of 95, essentially. um, yeah, so Cleary back next week will be very helpful. Preston, I think, is a couple weeks away still. Isaiah Yo on the bye this week doesn't help either. So we've sort of had to go with Marshall King as the captain and, all the eggs in the Pappenhausen basket this week. But while we're here, we'll have a look at the matchup. So we're against Johnson in the Haas this week. So Steve, who's sitting 7th, which isn't the best start to the year. But if you have a look at his team, he's got Bradman Best, who, is due for a big one. Eli Katoa, is nice. And, we definitely could have brought him into our classic team this week. Cam Munster, he could have a good one against the Dogs too. So a few that we're scared of there. Captain Hines. So, I think this might not be good for our team this week. Brayley's solid. Frankie Mola on the front row is not ideal, but I mean, front rowers aren't the sort of players you build a team around. So he's got Hosking, Strange, so it could be a bit of a fill up there for the boys against the Titans. And yeah, I guess covering a little bit of cover on the bench with Flanagan, Trebojevic, Radley, Billy Walters at a pinch and hooker. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. In terms of the classic matchups, we'll have a quick preview of them too. So Dixon Cider obviously has a few changes to make this week, but has Val Holmes, which is scary. Robson, again another one we don't have Ponga. So Ponga and Holmes, this could be the VC and C option this week, and we could be in a lot of trouble. But yeah, Dom Young, Liam Henry, Taylor May on the Pine, Talangi obviously out too. So I guess got Hughes, Salmon, Hines will come back in. Yeah, so I think that'll be all right. Probably one I'll be watching closely. In the second one, we've got Mr. Callio's Disciples. I think Mr. Callio's had a few comments on the YouTube channel over the time, so fantastic. Thanks for the support. Again, a few missing this week. No May, no Talangi, no Young, but has Hines to come in. Could be Trebojevic and Hughes, but probably will do some trades, I'd imagine. But I guess in the team, drink water. So all these people who've got the Cowboys, yeah, I need to get on. I'm quite scared. I'm not having the Cowboys given their form. Fanua Blake in the front row is nice. Dylan Brown, Sean Lane, not as scared of them, but they're good enough that they could pop off. And the rest we've got a match for. And in the third league, up against the Gundagai E-Tigers. So, esports team there, fantastic. Yep, got Ponga, so that's scary. Harry Grant I've got, but if he did sort of VCC him, would be a point of difference. Jamal Fogarty at half back. Again, could fill up against the Titans. And a few of the Penrith players out, including Tungo, which is a nice one to not have to play this week. Latrell also on the pine, so I'm imagining a trade there. A couple of trades, maybe Dom Young. So interesting to see how it will line up this week. Fantastic, but we'll wrap the video up there. Probably took a little bit longer than I'd hoped, but just trying to cover all bases. So if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below the video. Give us a like if you enjoy the SuperCoach content. Subscribe for all of the fantasy sports content on the channel. Good luck this weekend, and we'll catch you in the next one.